Elon is destroying Twitter, so I'm making my own. Unless you've been living under a rock for the past sort of week, you'll probably know the whole debacle that's going on right now with Elon Musk buying out Twitter and subsequently running it into the ground. Basically, he saw fit to cut about 50% of their workforce, including their whole content moderation team. Now, for a platform that's 95% porn, content moderation is kind of important because the internet can't really moderate itself. We've learnt this. That, alongside paying for what was once free verification, I really don't see Twitter lasting. So I'm taking matters into my own hands. I'm going to build my very own social network to rival Facebook, Twitter and all of the other platforms out there. It's going to be better for you, freedom of speech and the commercial machine in a few key ways. So I guess before we get started, we should probably work out exactly what we're going to use to build this. So I thought PHP and Laravel as a library would probably be a really good place to start. It's super easy to pick up and has a lot of tools pre-built in that will help me to really get this thing off the ground quickly. However, this is not going to be a one and done thing. This is probably going to be a few videos. So today we're going to be focusing on setting up the roots, and also making sure that we can have users logging in, signing up, and creating their first post. So let's head over to the whiteboard and I can tell you a little bit about what we need to start doing to get our social network off the ground. Okay, sweet. So I guess the first step is to talk about exactly how the site is going to work. Well, it's a social media. It's kind of not much to it. A user's going to be prompted to sign up or create an account. They're going to be dropped off to their feed where they can share their thoughts with the world and view other people's thoughts as well. I've got a few little key surprises along the way that I'm not going to tell you about now because it will just ruin it, and I've got to make sure that I keep my watch time up, so just keep watching to find out what they are, yeah? Cool. So, we already know basically how the site is going to work. We now need to think about the models. What are models? Well, models are data structures inside of Laravel. Basically, you've got to think of when you write to a database, you have to have terms and things to put into that database. So we have our user here. There we are. There's our user. Wow. So what is our user going to need? What do we need from the user in order to allow them to use the service? Well, of course, they need a name. There we go. What else are they going to need? Email address, because we want to spam them and make sure that we can market to them and sell all of their data to everybody who wants it. Obviously, they're going to need a password because we want to make sure that their accounts are nice and secure. So we'll have a password as well. Oh, and of course, we need some kind of verification. So we'll say, is this user verified? But what if they want to be a paid verified? So we'll add a paid verified. Paid verified. Oh, but I feel like having just two types of verification simply aren't enough. So maybe we should add another one here. We'll add a verified legend status as well. So they can be three kinds of verified, and we can work all of this out later. And obviously they'll probably want to express themselves with a profile picture. So we'll add one of those. Alright, sweet. So now we know our users. We know exactly what kind of data we need to grab from our users and where we're going to be putting it. So, what are our users going to be doing on our platform? Well, they're going to be creating posts. So, let's create some posts. What kind of data do we need to save for a post? Well, obviously we need the text or the content of the post. Now, I think we should probably allow users to upload pictures. Be that dick pics, pictures of their cats, pictures of their cats' dicks, I don't know, whatever they put on social media. So we'll have a pictures form. I guess all of these should probably also have IDs. So what we'll actually do is Laravel will give us IDs for each of these anyway, but a user will need an ID, a post will have an ID, and as will everything else. So we've got content, we have pictures. What else are we going to want to put on our post? Well, comments. So we're going to have a list of comments. We also probably want people to like and dislike these posts as well. And there is also a big surprise that I'm going to tell you about later, which is really going to set my social media apart from every other one on the planet. Okay, so we've got users, we've got posts, and we now have comments as well. We should probably write exactly what these comments could be. So we'll create a comment class. That again will have an ID, but it will also need some content, exactly the same as a post would. They could reply in a picture, and these would also have likes and dislikes. Cool, so we know our users, we know our posts, and we know our comments. However, you're probably noticing something here. Posts and comments basically share the same data. So, could we potentially reuse the post class to be a comment? Well, that's something that we can look at a little bit later. So now we know exactly the kind of data we're going to need. Let's head over to the computer and start to write these data structures up. Okay, so here we are on my computer, and here's where all the magic's going to happen. Basically, I need to set up a new project. I've already installed Laravel, I've already installed Composer and everything else. I'm not going to show you how to do that. If you don't know, go Google it. It's like teaching your grandma to suck eggs. Anyway, here I am. I'm going to go ahead and create a new directory and create a new project. So I'm already in my main directory, so if I list, it's going to show me everything that's in this directory. So I can just go Laravel, new, and then give this project a name. I don't have a name for this project yet. I don't know what I'm going to call it. If you've got any ideas for the social network name, then let me know in the comments. But anyway, we can just click new. Okay, so it doesn't like spaces. What we'll do is we'll call it social media. There you go. There you go. So we're creating this new project. We'll give it a couple of minutes, and then we're basically ready to go. Give it a few more seconds, and then what we're going to need to do is actually serve this to ourselves so we can start to view it and use it, because at the moment it's just going to be a folder on our computer. We're not running this on a server somewhere. Okay, so it's ready, and it says go build something amazing, and that we will. So we can cd into the social media folder. There we are, and now we're ready to go PHP artisan serve. And ta-da, there we have it. So if I go to this web address now on any web browser, we are met with the most wonderful social media of all. No, I'm kidding. This is clearly not a social media website. This is Laravel's basic page. We actually need to make something. So what we're going to do is open up Code or any other browser that we like, and we can create that new project. I'm not actually going to save this one. That's an old one there. We'll go into Code, and we can open up that folder. Now we have our nice big folder structure, and we're ready to get started. Okay, so in our project structure, we're going to have to actually start to create these models. We've got one for the user, we have one for our post, and we have one for our comments. So we can actually delete the user that's pre-generated. There's one that's already made, but we're actually going to make our own because it's good practice. So we can just delete those files there. Those were from our migrations, and also inside here of our models folder. So going back to our command line, we should now be able to create a brand new migration as well as a model by calling PHP artisan make model post. So I'm making my post one here, and then we're going to call ## migration. And boom, that's done. So now we can see post. We also need to create one for user and one for comments. So let's really quickly do that as well. Great, so that's our models created. This model actually has a funny name, so I'm going to just really quickly change that to a normal comment. And we now have 3 of them. However, we don't actually know what's being generated in these. So again, what we're going to do is just take a really quick look at our migration files, where we can see that our posts have IDs and timestamps, as do our users and our comments. So let's go back up to our board up there and add in each individual thing that we want to capture for users, posts, and comments. Cool, so let's start off with our users. I've already filled these out rather than doing it on camera, but I'll talk you through them. So we already know that ID was left there from before, as was that timestamp. So we've created a few new ones. One of them is a string, which is simply going to be their name. We can call that anything we want, realistically. I've called it name. In this case, it could be username, anything you like. There's one underneath for email, but you'll see that we've concatenated onto that the function unique. What that means is this string here for the email has to be unique to that user. You can't use an email to create multiple accounts. Email verified at, we don't really care about that. The email, we're not going to do email verification for our social network because freedom of speech. We also have passwords here. They're going to be kept in a string, a remember me token, and the timestamps as well. So cool, that's done. Let's really quickly talk about posts next. So posts are very much the same again. Instead, this time we have a foreign ID called user_ID. Basically, what this means is this is going to be constrained. We have to ensure that the user ID that has created this post or this comment is an actual user, and that's where we're going to get the user ID from. We also have an onDelete here, cascade. Basically what that means is it's going to delete all of the posts and comments from a user if that user gets deleted. That's going to be super important later. We also have a string for onNullable, and basically that's going to be for our pictures. We don't always want to have to upload a picture, so nullable is useful here. And finally, our comments pretty much the same again. We're looking here, we have our post ID, so the ID that is associated with this post. Again, the user who has created this comment, the user's name, any kind of media associated with it, and the actual content itself. So next up, let's head over to the whiteboard again, where we can talk a little bit about roots. So roots in Laravel are exactly what they sound like. Basically, it's going to talk about how a user gets from point A and routed to point B. Let's take our website, for example. www.mysite.com/. Okay, that is our root. That's where the user goes first. So when a user navigates to this site, it's going to call to the Laravel backend and it's going to say, hey, where am I meant to go? And we can tell it to go one of 2 places. In our case, 1 or 2 places. We can make it do anything that we like with a route. It's either going to make our users go straight to their feed, so it will be feed, or it will be telling them to go sign up or log in. So we'll call this register. And routes are basically Laravel choosing exactly how a user gets to parts of your website. Laravel will choose to send them to the feed or the register page based upon the information that we give them. So let's go ahead and create all of the routes that we think are going to be necessary now. So right now in our default project, if we go to our routes and web.php folder, we can see that we only have one route currently. Basically, what it's doing is it's going to make a get command to the root directory, and that's going to call a function to return the view of welcome. That's that welcome page that we saw earlier that we really don't need anymore. So instead, what we're going to do is change this route to go somewhere else. Let's have a look at how we can do that. There are a few ways that we can do it. We can just tell it to go to a different site, for example, register. It's now going to go and see if it can find a register page. So where does it find these pages? It's within the resources views folder. So we can see welcome.blade.php. You'll notice all web pages are .blade.php because it uses Blade templates. So in this case, we can create a brand new one by just right clicking. In fact, we'll just copy and paste it, and we'll call this one register this time. So rename. Register.blade.php. And all we'll do in here is we'll delete literally everything other than the body. We don't really need the head in here either. We'll just create a quick paragraph that says register. So now if we go to our web page, then we should see that running. I've got to restart the server here. So let me just CD back into that folder and use that same artisan code that I used before. We can now go ahead and go back to our website. And we'll notice that it hasn't actually changed. That's more than likely because I haven't updated it here. No, so I hadn't saved that file. So I know I've saved that file. Let's go back, refresh the page, and we now have our register page. It's not much, but it's an honest day's work. So we now have pages and we see how routes can work. I like to do this within controllers. So I can create a controller and then do it from in there. So let me quickly write down a new route and how I do it with controllers. Okay, so here we are. I've just written all of my routes that I think I'm going to need. For example, we're going to actually show the home page in this case. So route get, and then our home page is going to go to the feed controller, which is a brand new controller class that we're going to create in a moment. And it's going to call the function feed. We also have a little middleware thing here with auth on the end. That basically means that it's only going to do that if if the user is authorized. If not, it will default to a separate page, and we can talk about where that separate page will be right now. So if we go up to the top here and we go to HTTP middleware and then authenticate, we can see that in my case, I've already changed it to go to login. In most cases, it will just say home or something like that. So we're just going to request login and it will go to the login route instead. Heading back down to our routes page, we can see one for guests as well. So register, users, and login will only be available to users who are guests. If not, it will default them back to their main feed page. So I've written a few routes here. The homepage route, register, creating a new user, which in this case is going to be a post, logging out, which is also going to be a post, logging in, and authenticating the user. With posting, so creating posts that people can see. There's going to be a store, so create, show, so we can see individual posts if we like, edit them. We also have things like putting a new one in or updating it, deleting it, and managing them as well. We probably won't need that manage one, so we could probably get rid of that. And they are pretty much the same with the comments. So you'll notice I've written feed controller, user controller. We need to know how to make these controllers. It's actually pretty simple. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop my server again. We can actually, let me just zoom in. Very much like how we made the model just a second ago. PHP artisan. And this time we're going to make controller. And then we're going to give this controller a name. In our case, we'll create one called user controller. Ta-da! If we scroll up to the top, look in our controllers folder, we now have the user controller. There it is. That's actually our models, but if we come up and have a look in HTTP controllers, we now have user controller. Cool. Let's create one of those for each of our different styles. So we need one for users, we need one for the actual posts, and one for comments. And then we can talk about relationships between these. Okay, so I've already taken the liberty of creating our register and login pages. You'll notice we've got a login and we've got a register. For logging in, you can log in as a user or you can register as a new one. It's really simple stuff. And along the top, we have a little button for login, which takes us to the login page. We can also search tweets or we can also search things if we like and head to the home page. You'll notice that actually right now, if I go to the home page, just the root directory, it redirects me to that login page because of that authentication check that we have in the middleware. So let's see how exactly we get to this page. So if we have a look inside of our web.php, we can see the register, route, get, register. So the user controller, and we have two here. We have a login and we have create. So let's scroll up to our brand new controller that we just created. In this case, it is the user controller. We have create, and we have login. So for each of these, you'll actually notice that that code is basically the same as what we had there before in that route folder from what was left over from when we started the Laravel project. Return, view, users.register. The reason I've got the dot in there is because I've started to add things into subfolders. So if I scroll all the way down, we can see views. I have a few different folders, so components, feed, users. This is our users one. We have login. We actually don't have a register anymore, so I can remove the register one and just keep the login page. This is just normal HTML code and with a couple of forms in. So let's really quickly talk about those forms and why they need certain parameters. This one is for our logging in, I believe. Yeah, so we create our form like we normally would in HTML with our method of post. We are making a post request when we submit this form. It's going to be going to users authenticate. We'll go back and check that route in a bit and see where that route will end up. In this case, we have an email field because we need to know the user's email. And that's an input field that's going to take in the old email as a value. So if, for example, you typed in your email address and your password, you've hit enter and you've got your password wrong, your email will actually stay in that email field, so won't need to be re-added every time you get your password wrong, for example. We also have the error here as well. And what this means is if there is a problem with the login, then we will display an error to the user about the email field in red text. Same with the password. This is all very, very simple stuff. And then at the bottom here, we just have a simple button, which is a submit button saying login. And as soon as we click that login button, we're going to use one of the routes. Same with the register. The register is just the same form again. I've got some little extra added code in here for creating cards and such. I'll show you all of this in due course, do not worry. Okay, so now we are back on our web.php and seeing all of our routes. The one that we're interested in right now is the posting of new users. So, users store. So, we now need to go ahead and take a look at the store function inside of our users controller. Scrolling up to the top, we can go to our users controller and we can see store here. This is all to do with the database. It's a MySQL database and you'll need to set this up as well. I'll leave some cheat sheets in the description down below for how you can go about setting up a MySQL database. I'm not going to cover it here because it really is something that you should know if you're wanting to start to learn Laravel. So we have a new form fields. And we're going to be taking in the request with whatever is coming. So in our case, we were posting all of that information from the register field, which is going to be held within this request. And then we're going to go ahead and validate it. We have loads of options when it comes to validation, but in our case, the name just has to be a minimum of 3 characters. The email will need to be unique to the users field email, to the users database email. And the password will need to be a minimum of 6 characters. Of course, we don't want to do a VTEC and we don't want to hold all of these passwords in plain text. Thankfully, we can use bcrypt, which will do all of the encryption for us. And then it will simply just create the user, authenticate them and already log them in, and then just redirect them back to the home page, which this time is not going to be that login page because they're already authenticated, and it will instead take them to. So let's go ahead and create a new user now. What we'll actually do is we'll also have a look in MySQL Workbench. This is a piece of software that helps you to keep track of, well, MySQL and everything that's in your database. So here's my local instance. If we take a look here, we can see our brand new one. We have some tables. We have users. So I already have a user here. I've got my name, my email address, my password, which is encrypted, as well as a few other pieces of information. But let's go back to our register page here and create a brand new user. Okay, so let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, we said that these passwords had to be 6 characters or more. So in theory, yeah, it's actually going to tell us here, hey, that password's not long enough. So now we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This time, when we sign up, we are dumped straight back into our feed. This is the main brunt of the social media. It's got my name or my other user's name. Of course, this is pretty ugly. I'm going to work on all of this, don't you worry. We can also upload files here as well, and we can choose pictures to upload alongside it if we so desire. So funnily enough, that's kind of the basics. We've already got users creating accounts, logging in, and being able to create pieces of content. It's actually very similar. That content piece is very similar to the other pieces that I've done. So if we go ahead and take a look down here in our feed section, we can see the feed.blade.php. We have a new method, we have a new card here, or form, which is going to post to /posts, and it's a multi-part form. That's going to be things like the message, as well as the actual image if they want to upload an image. And that's just being sent to /posts. If we scroll all the way down, we can see that /posts is going to take us to, if I can find it, here we go. So /posts is going to send us to the store command for our post controller. Scrolling up to our post controller, once again, it's all very similar. We know how to do this because we're already saving users. This time, all we're doing is saving the user's name with the auth user name, their ID as well, and any kind of media, in this case an image, that we want. We've also got things for posting and updating and editing, but we'll talk about those later. If I go in here, whoa, much socials. If I click post, ta-da, my user now says, whoa, much socials. It really is that simple. And I'm going to leave it here for now. I think we've made some super amazing progress. Our users can register and log in for an account, and they can even create their first pieces of content to go onto the site. There is still a ton of work to do here, including comments and making sure that users can delete, edit their posts as well. But that's going to be for next week. So if you have enjoyed this video, then do let me know in the comment section down below. This is more of an informational video than I would normally do, more learning, because this is something that I'm learning as well. I'm still very, very new to this, but it's something that I wanted to share with you guys because I think it's a skill that is super important to know, especially if you want to become a developer. Get subscribed while you're down there as well, and of course, my name is Robert, this has been Review Clue, and I will catch you in the next one. Adios.